The AK is one of the most widely copied weapons in the world. Due to the liberal granting of licenses to manufacture, many countries in the Warsaw Pact and around the world produce their own versions of the AK. While most of these were simple derivations of the original design, with few notable features of their own, some stand head and shoulders above the rest. But which foreign AK variants are the top of the heap? The East German Wieger Sturmgewehr (STG). In the late 1980s, the German Democratic Republic was very short on cash. One way in which the East Germans had had some success in the past was in arms sales and licensed production of standard Warsaw Pact designs. But in order to compete in the more diverse global market, they needed to develop weapons in Western calibers. Thus, the Wieger STG was born. It was chambered in the standard 5.56 by 45 mm and incorporated many upgrades over the standard AK. A clone of the M16A2 flash hider was at the end of the barrel. There was an integrated front sight gas block that still retained a relatively mid-length gas system, a system the GDR first fielded in the MPI AKS 74 NK 5.45 mm carbine. 2 orders were placed from India and Peru, but German reunification halted the orders and the production of the rifle. While the Wieger STG suffered a quick death, examples remain in the armory of some Bundeswehr units. The Yugoslavian Zastava M70 AB2. The SFR Yugoslavia came into the AK game pretty late, perhaps due to the Soviet-Yugoslav split. While development of a domestic AK variant to replace the SKS variants began early in 1959, it was based on the milling technology of the original AK, not the stamped AKM. Yugoslavia finally got around to adopting in the AK in 1970 with the M70 AK, which was then refined into the M70B and M70B2 and M70AB2 rifle. These B and AB2 rifles were produced in the largest numbers and were the greatest success in export. M70s are still a standard rifle in the Serbian military, in the new B3 variant, and have seen great success in the export market. The Polish KbkZ 1988 Tantal and KbkZ WZ 1996 Beryl. While the Soviets adopted the 5.45 cartridges in the 1970s, most Warsaw Pact nations only got around to adopting their own versions in the 1980s. While some were rather simple direct clones of the East German MPI AK-47N, other nations like Poland took the chance to incorporate significant innovation in their rifle designs. The Tantal came with a standard-issue side-folding stock, the ability to launch rifle grenades with a multifunctional muzzle device. In addition to this, provisions were also added to mount the WZ-74 Pallid underbarrel grenade launcher to the Tantal. After Poland joined NATO, the Tantal evolved into the barrel rifle. The internals were redesigned for the 5.56 mm NATO cartridge, and newer folding stock that gave improved cheek weld was incorporated. The unique left side selector and provisions to mount the Pallid were retained. In later versions of the barrel, a robust solution for mounting optics was included. The Israeli IMI Galil. After bad experiences with the FN-FAL, the Israelis looked at the AK rifle when they were designing their next service rifle, the Galil, in 5.56 by 45 NATO. Given its long stoke gas piston operation, 2-lug rotating bolt design, overall receiver design, and rock and lock magazines, it's safe to call the Galil an AK variant. However, it incorporates a myriad of improvements. Like the Tantal, it has a left-hand selector. However, since it's directly mechanically linked to the traditional AK-type selector/safety on the right, it's a true selector safety, unlike the Tantals, which is just a selector. The gas piston has raised protrusions behind the pistol head to reduce slop in the gas tube and increase accuracy. The sighting system is also completely redesigned, with the rear sight being at the rear of a locking dust cover to increase sight radius, and a straight side folding stock are also installed. To facilitate reloads with the right hand remaining on the pistol grip, the cocking handle is lengthened and bent upwards so a soldier can pull it by reaching his left hand over the rifle. Interestingly, magazines for the Galil were also produced in higher capacities than the AK. While standard magazine held 35 rounds, extended versions held 50. The Finnish 7.62 Rynnäkkökivääri 62, RK-62. The Finns have a long history of improving Russian weapons. During the Winter War and the Continuation War, the Finnish army used improved variants of the Mosin rifle to fight the Russians. While the Russian rifles were not the best in accuracy, the Finnish M39 rifles were considered to be among the best in the era, achieving accuracy of around 1 MOA. The RK-62 continued this trend into the Cold War era, being a heavily improved version of the AK. The tolerances and metal quality of the rifle are highly improved over a standard AK. The locking dust cover has a rear diopter sight with integrated tritium, and the gas piston has protrusions to reduce slop. The Galil was based on the RK-62 and thus derives these features from it. It serves in the Finnish military to this day and is currently being modernized and is expected to serve until 2035.